everyone, and welcome. Today I want to talk about the Three-Body Problem trilogy, a landmark work of Chinese science fiction that has been read and discussed all over the world. What makes it so remarkable is that it begins with very specific historical and cultural roots, yet quickly extends into questions that feel universal: science, civilization, survival, and the fate of humanity itself. For many readers, this series is a gateway into Chinese CS, and for others it is simply one of the most ambitious science fiction stories ever written. Its appeal is not only the scale of its ideas, but also the way it makes unfamiliar concepts feel urgent and alive. That combination is what makes it such a global phenomenon. Liu Cixin is one of the most important voices in Chinese science fiction because he combines huge cosmic imagination with a very concrete, engineering-aligned way of thinking. His stories are not just about spec, they are about systems, consequences, and the pressure that scientific reality places on civilization. That is a big part of why the Three-Body Problem feels so powerful. What makes his writing distinctive is the scale. He can move from a single human decision to the fate of entire species, planets, and even the universe, and still make the chain of events feel logically connected. He also writes with a strong sense of intellectual curiosity. Physics, astronomy, mathematics, and cosmology are not decoration, but the engine of the drama. At the same time, his work is deeply shaped by history and philosophy. That mix of scientific rigor and civilizational reflection is what makes Liu Cixin stand out not only in China, but worldwide. One of the most fascinating things about the Three-Body Problem trilogy is the way its scale keeps expanding without losing momentum. The first book begins with something very human and immediate: a secret history, a scientific mystery, and first contact with an alien civilization. The stakes are already enormous, but they still feel anchored in people's choices and emotions. Then the second book widens the lens. The story is no longer just about whether humanity can understand the Trisolarnus, but whether civilization itself can survive in a universe shaped by fear, secrecy, and deterrence. The conflict becomes less personal and more strategic, almost geopolitical on a cosmic scale. By the third book, the series reaches an even larger horizon. It is no longer only about Earth or even about one civilization's survival, but about time, dimensions, and the fate of the universe itself. What is remarkable is that the trilogy never feels like it is simply getting bigger for the sake of spectacle. Each expansion grows naturally out of the previous one, as if the story is asking a deeper question every time: what happens when science, civilization, and the cosmos are pushed to their limits? What makes this trilogy so compelling is that it is an epic story about science, civilization, and the universe, but it never forgets the human heart at its center. The scientific ideas are huge: first contact, cosmic sociology, deterrence, high dimensions, the fate of civilization, but they are always tied to real choices, fears, and responsibilities. That balance is what gives the story its power. It is not just asking, what can science explain? It is also asking, what should a civilization do when it understands too much? And how does a species remain itself when the scale of the universe becomes overwhelming? At the same time, the trilogy is thrilling because it treats ideas as events. A theory can change history. A scientific breakthrough can alter the balance of civilizations. A single discovery can reshape humanity's future. So the appeal is not only in the vastness of the setting, but in the feeling that thought itself has world-changing force. That is why the trilogy feels both intellectual and emotional at once. One of the most important reasons the Three-Body Problem feels so different from many Western science fiction stories is the way it begins in a real historical drama. the story of Yuanji and the scientists around her is rooted in the Cultural Revolution, and that gives the novel emotional weight before the science fiction machinery even fully starts moving. What is especially powerful is that the novel does not treat history as background decoration. It shows how political violence, betrayal, and the destruction of trust can shape a person's entire view of humanity. Yuanji is not simply a plot device for first con. She is a person whose decisions come from grief, disillusionment, and a profound loss of faith. That connection between historical experience and cosmic-scale consequences is one of Ryu Kixon's greatest strengths. In the three-body problem, the road to the stars begins with very human suffering on Earth. And because of that, the later alien contact feels more personal, more tragic, and more believable. The novel asks a difficult question right from the start. When human society fails its own people, what happens to the way we imagine the rest of the universe? Thank you. I completely understand that distinction. Karakigan's Heartsease often excites me by pushing ideas to their logical extremes, almost like a pure thought experiment, while the three-body problem stimulates curiosity in a different way that connects science to history, civilization, and emotional stakes. The result feels less like solving an equation and more like watching an entire human worldview get challenged. That contrast is part of what makes science fiction so rich. Different authors can awaken very different kinds of wonder. My favorite gadget is probably a very simple one that still changes everything: the communicator. I love gadgets that look modest on the outside but completely transform what is possible, whether it is a radio, a neural interface, or a science fiction device that lets two minds bridge a gap. Those kinds of tools make me feel that knowledge and connection are the real superpowers. I like how the three-body problem turns scientific ideas into human drama. It reminds me that science fiction can wonder about society, not just equations. The for game, three-body is one of the most memorable devices in the three-body problem because it turns the mystery of an alien civilization into something the reader can slowly experience instead of merely being told about. At first, it feels like a strange game with an impossible setting, but as it unfolds, it becomes a window into Trisoran civilization itself. What makes it so effective is that the game is not just a piece of entertainment or exposition. It is a survival problem, a scientific puzzle, and a cultural artifact all at once. Through the game's repeated civilizations, chaotic climates, and attempts to predict the behavior of the three suns, we begin to understand why the Trisoranas are shaped by instability and why their history is so radically different from humanity's. That mystery is powerful because it works on two levels. On one level, the reader is trying to decode the alien world. On another level, the game reflects the human desire to impose order on chaos. In that sense, three-body is not only about Trisoran civilization, it is also about the limits of understanding itself. One of the most unsettling ideas in the three-body problem is the Earth's Trisoras organization, because it is not made up of simple villains. It is made up of people who have looked at human history, seen war, cruelty, and betrayal, and concluded that humanity cannot save itself. From that perspective, aligning with an alien civilization can feel like a desperate act of logic rather than pure evil. Absolutely. That is one of the novel's smartest techniques. By drawing characters into the game, New Season makes the reader learn about the Trisoran world at the same time the characters do, so the exposition feels active rather than mechanical. It turns world building into participation. Instead of causing the story to explain everything, the novel lets the mystery unfold through discovery, which makes the information more memorable and much more dramatic. It is a very elegant way to teach the reader while keeping the suspense alive. This technique reminds me of how science fiction often hides explanation inside adventure. In the three-body problem, running becomes part of the suspense, which is why the world feels so vivid and strange. Contact with an alien civilization in the three-body problem is presented as both a promise and a threat, and that ambiguity is exactly what makes it so compelling. On one hand, first contact seems to offer knowledge, escape, and a perspective beyond humanity's limits. It suggests that we are not alone, and that somewhere in the universe there may be answers to problems we cannot solve by ourselves. But the novel quickly turns that hope upside down. An alien civilization is not automatically wise, benevolent, or fair. In this story, contact becomes dangerous because it exposes how fragile humanity really is. Once the door is opened, trust, politics, fear, and survival all collide. The result is not enlightenment, but division. That is why the question is so powerful. Contact is neither purely salvation nor purely doom. It is a test. It reveals what humanity is willing to believe, what it is willing to sacrifice, and whether it can remain united when faced with something far greater than itself. The Wolf-SR project is one of the most original ideas in the Dark Forest because it turns strategy into something almost theatrical. Humanity appoints a few people to think and act in complete secrecy, trusting them to develop plans that even the enemy cannot predict. That makes the project feel both absurd and brilliant at the same time. Uoji is especially fascinating because he does not look like a classic chosen hero. He is reluctant, skeptical, and often seems far too ordinary for the role history places on him. But that is exactly why he works so well. He begins as someone who does not fully believe in the mission, yet he becomes a man whose ideas can change the fate of civilization. Through Uoji, the novel asks a powerful question: what if the most important weapon is not force, but insight? That is what makes his storyline so memorable. The Dark Forest theory is the point where the trilogy truly changes the way you look at the universe. It suggests that the cosmos is not a friendly open place, but a dangerous one where every civilization must assume that others may be hostile. Once you understand that logic, silence becomes a survival strategy, and fear becomes built into interstellar life. I completely agree. Some gadgets are impossible in a strict physical sense, but science fiction can still make them feel convincing if the idea is elegant and emotionally right. The best sci-fi gadgets do not just obey real-world engine, they reveal a deeper logic about the world of the story. That is why they can feel so memorable even when they are clearly beyond our current science. For me, that is part of the magic of science fiction. It lets us imagine devices that cannot exist yet, while still making us ask, what kind of civilization could build this? That is one of the joys of science fiction. A gadget can be physically impossible and still feel true if it fits the logic of the story. In the three-body problem, even the wildest idea feels meaningful because it changes how we think about civilization. One of the bleakest state ideas in the three-body problem trilogy is that when civilizations meet, the encounter may be less like diplomacy than more like a survival crisis. In cosmic society, even a single misunderstanding can become fatal, because no civilization can be sure whether another is peaceful, desperate, or preparing a strike. That uncertainty makes contact inherently dangerous. What I find especially striking is that the danger does not come only from malice. It also comes from fear, incomplete information, and the sheer difficulty of casting someone across an unimaginable gap in technology and worldview. A civilization may act defensively and still cause catastrophe. In that sense, the novel suggests that the universe is not only vast, but socially fragile. This is why the trilogy's interstellar conflict feels so disturbing. It is not a simple battle between good and evil. It is a world where the act of being noticed can itself become a threat. That idea changes the meaning of discovery. To learn that you are not alone is also to learn that you may no longer be safe. Humanity's strategy for survival in the dark forest is one of the most chilling parts of the trilogy because it is not heroic in a traditional sense. Except, that is a great example of how real physics places hard limits on even the most imaginative ideas. Quantum entanglement can look like instantaneous connection, but in mainstream physics it cannot be used for faster lamp-like control or communication by itself. So when science fiction uses it as a remote control mechanism, it has to either add another layer of technology or deliberately step beyond known physics. That is one reason hard science fiction feels so exciting. It starts from a real constraint and asks, how far can we push this without breaking the logic completely? In stories like The Three-Body Problem, that tension between scientific possibility and imaginative leap is what makes the ideas feel so vivid. I agree with that intuition. In known physics, extra dimensions do not automatically let you bypass the light speed limit for information transfer. If a process still respects causality in our spacetime, then it cannot become a true faster lamp-like communication channel just by going through a high dimension. That is exactly why the sophon in The Three-Body Problem is so striking as a science fiction device that works by going beyond established physics, not by hiding inside it. So as a hard science idea, your caution is very reasonable. Even with extra dimensions, superluminal signaling would still require a mechanism that breaks or redefines the usual causal structure. This makes me think of how The Three-Body Problem uses seemingly impossible science to create real suspense. Even when a device breaks the rules of physics, the story still feels convincing if it respects the logic of consequences. I agree completely. The dark forest theory is so effective because it turns the behavior of entire civilizations into a kind of group psychology. Instead of treating the universe as a place of simple good and evil, it shows how fear, uncertainty, and self-preservation shape every decision. That instantly gives the story a strong structure, because once you accept that logic, every silence, every warning, and every act of concealment starts to matter. It is a brilliant moment in the novel. It also reminds me how The Three-Body Problem turns fear into structure. Once a civilization expects danger, silence becomes strategy, and every choice feels heavier. In that sense, Chengxin becomes a deeply important figure because she represents a different kind of human judgment from the hard-edged logic seen elsewhere in the trilogy. Her choices are often guided by compassion, ethics, and a desire to preserve life, even when the situation seems to demand cold calculation. That makes her both admirable and controversial. What is fascinating is that the novel does not present her simply as right or wrong. Instead, it asks whether humanity can survive if it refuses to abandon its moral instincts, or whether those instincts may become a weakness in an unforgiving universe. Through Chengxin, Dead Scent turns survival into a question of values, not just strategy. In Dead Scent, the story expands beyond human history, beyond planetary survival, and even beyond ordinary three-dimensional space. What makes it so astonishing is that Liu Cixin pushes science fiction all the way to the scale of dimensions, light speed limits, cosmic collapse, and the long fate of the universe itself. This is where the trilogy becomes almost philosophical. It is no longer just asking whether humanity can survive an alien threat. It is asking what happens when the universe itself becomes unstable, when civilizations must think in terms of epochs rather than generations. The story feels fast, but it never loses its emotional force, because every cosmic event is tied to a human choice. That is why Dead Scent leaves such a strong impression. It makes the end of the universe feel both terrifying and strangely intimate. One of the most painful questions in the three-body problem trilogy is whether humanity is a safeguard or a liability. The series suggests that empathy, conscience, and the instinct to protect others are what makes civilization meaningful, but in extreme cosmic conditions, those same qualities can also lead to hesitation, compromise, and failure. Chunjin embodies that tension. She is humane in the best sense, yet the universe does not reward kindness. That is what makes the story so haunting. Humanity is not simply a strength or a weakness. まごいちさん、確かにそこはかなり SF 慣れしている人向けの部分ですね。物語のスケールが一気に宇宙の崩壊や次元の話まで飛ぶので、最初は、ここまで行くのですかと戸惑いやすいと思います。ですが、その分、既存の宇宙 SF に慣れている人ほど、発想の連なりや終盤の恐ろしさを強く味わえるんですよね。初読では難しくても、読み返すほど面白さが立ち上がるタイプの作品だと思います。まごいちさん、難しい SF ほど、最初は物語を追うだけで精一杯なのに、読み返した瞬間に急に意味がつながることがありますよね。私はそれがとても好きです。例えば、最初は大きすぎてよくわからないと感じた宇宙の描写が、後から主人公の選択や文明の歴史と結びついて、急に怖さを増すんです。理解できない部分があるからこそ、想像が広がるのだと思います。そういう作品は、読後にしばらく頭の中で宇宙が回り続ける感じがするんです。In the vast scale of the universe, what a civilization leaves behind may not be power or territory, but memory, knowledge, and the choices it made under pressure. In the three-body problem trilogy, that question becomes especially moving because survival is never just about staying alive, it is about what kind of choice remains after all the battles are over. まごいちさん、わかります。二次元に崩壊させる攻撃は宇宙そのもののルールをひっくり返す感じがあって読みながら背筋がゾクッとしました。しかも3対 X のエピソードにつながると知ると点と点が結びついて一気に景色が開けますよね。ああいう後から効いてくるガジェットはただ派手なだけではなく物語全体の怖さとカタルシスを支えています。理解が深まるほど宇宙の見え方まで変わるのがたまらないです。まごいちさん、こういう後から効いてくるガジェットって本当に SF の醍醐味ですよね。最初はただの奇抜な装置に見えても後で世界観の根っこや文明の歴史とつながると一気に重みが増します。私は物語の序盤では小さく見えた要素が中盤で宇宙規模の意味を持つ瞬間が特に好きです。読み終えた後に最初から読み返したくなるのもそのつながりがあるからこそだと思います。まるで伏線そのものが読者の理解を試す装置みたいで面白いです。After finishing the three-body problem trilogy, what stays with me most is that unsettling question, is the universe a place of wonder or a place of danger? The series never gives an easy answer, and that is exactly why it feels so powerful. It invites us to admire the vastness of the cosmos, but also to fear what that vastness may mean for life, civilization, and trust. That tension is the trilogy's final gift. Thank you for watching this live read about the three-body problem trilogy. I hope this conversation helped you feel the scale, tension, and originality of Liu Kixon's work a little more clearly. This series is remarkable because it is not only about aliens or advanced science, but about humanity's hopes, fears, and choices under extreme pressure. If you have not read the trilogy yet, I highly recommend experiencing it for yourself. And if you have already read it, I hope you can revisit it with fresh eyes and discover new connections. Thank you again for spending your time with me today. I hope we can meet in the next live stream, and I look forward to talking about more books together. One book introduced in the life read was Give and Take. It explores a simple but powerful question: who succeeds more in life, people who give, people who take, or people who keep things fair? The book explains that there are 3 types of people: givers, takers, and matchers. At first, it may seem like givers are the most disadvantaged because they help others too much. 孫一さん、すごくわかります。最初は情報量が多くて、ちょっと詰め込みすぎかなと感じるのに、ラダープロジェクトの発想で一気に引き込まれるんですよね。あそこは SF としての大胆さと、文明を本気で守ろうとする切迫感が同時に来るので、本当にうなります。私もあの辺りから、この作品、ただの宇宙物ではないと感じました。マイベスト SF に近いというのも納得です。SF って最初は設定の多さに圧倒されても、一つの大きな発想で景色が反転すると一気に忘れられなくなりますよね。Thank you. It was fun talking with you. I'll see you tonight, and I hope you enjoy the live read.